Hi, entrepreneurship, one of the most talked about concept in the recent times. What is entrepreneurship? Why it is so important in the society? What are the classification of entrepreneurship and why entrepreneurship is preferred so much in the recent times? So let's try to find out answer for all these questions. Welcome to the course on entrepreneurship. My name is Pawan Kumar Chandrapa. So in this entire series of videos, we are going to discuss the concept of entrepreneurship. What is the difference between traditional and modern entrepreneurship? Why entrepreneurship is chosen? What are the typical characteristics of entrepreneur? Examples of successful entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial process, types of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial considerations. What are the challenges in entrepreneurship? The sources of business ideas, new trends in entrepreneurship, industry life cycle, and why entrepreneurship fails. Why entrepreneurs have been failing. So these are the things we're going to discuss in this entire series of videos. So we have a lot to understand. Let's begin our journey with the first concept. What is entrepreneurship? The term entrepreneurship is derived from the French term entreprendre. That means to undertake. So what is the meaning of undertake? To start, to initiate, to begin something in business, to establish a business. So that is entrepreneurship. That's entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is a process of setting up a business, taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. This is very important. Entrepreneur takes the risk and he set up a business and he takes the risk. So why he do that? Because there is an element of profit. Definitely there is an element of reward. So he's assuming risk and for that there will be a reward. So an entrepreneur is a person who creates new business, assuming most of the risks and enjoy most of the rewards because he is assuming every risk that comes up in business, and of course the reward is for him or her. Entrepreneur makes the efficient utilization of resources that we call factors of production. So what are factors of production? Land, labor, resources, and enterprise skills. So the efficient utilization of these resources is critical in business because the success or failure of any business largely dependent on how the factors of production are utilized in the business. We need to remember two things in business, in entrepreneurship. There are two components that are very important in entrepreneurship: ability to do something and willingness to do something. So what is ability? It's a capability, it's a knowledge or skill or efficiency to do a certain task in the business. That's ability. Willingness is also equally important because the entrepreneur should show the willingness to do something. So when these two things come together, it will become entrepreneurship. If any one of these two things are missing, then entrepreneurship may not happen. For example, a person is willing to do something in business, but you do not have capability, you do not have financial resources, or you do not have ability to do something, then the entrepreneurship is not possible. On the other hand, the person has ability, he has talent, he has skills to do in things in business, but you do not have willingness to do. Then also entrepreneurship will not happen. So the combination of ability and willingness is very important to make it an entrepreneurship. For example, starting a new business. Starting a new business may be anything. It may be a small venture, a tea shop, or it's a small fancy store, or it's a small medical shop to a multinational company, right? To that extent. So it is just about establishing business, whether it is a small scale or large scale. It's very important to understand entrepreneurship is not restricted to a single domain. There are innumerable domains that where entrepreneurship can be explored. It may be media, entertainment, food production, health, sports, automobiles, any other industry. So it is not restricted to a single domain. So The entrepreneur recognize the opportunity that exists in any of these domains and identify the problem, and he'll try to find out solution for that. For example, when an individual, a common man, thinks that's a problem, that becomes an opportunity for an entrepreneur. So whatever the risk, a problem or complexity that a common man witness in real life is something that is an opportunity. Entrepreneur look at it as an opportunity because he's looking for an opportunity, because when there is a problem exists, there is a scope for solution. So entrepreneur can develop a solution and he can make it a business plan. That's a possibility. So whatever the risk, the problem, the complexity that a common man witness is an opportunity for an entrepreneur. A simple idea, efficient execution. Not always the business idea should be excellent, outstanding, right? So it should be a simple problem that exists in the society. If an entrepreneur is able to solve that efficiently, that leads to an entrepreneurship. For example, traffic problem. An individual who developed an app or who develop a business idea that will bring down the traffic problem in the society will be good enough to make entrepreneurship. Not necessarily it's a great idea going to space, not necessarily that. Not necessarily establishing a multinational company and making crores of money. That's an entrepreneurship. No, not necessarily. Finding out a simple problem, genuine problem is something is very important. Genuinely, if there is a problem in the society and an entrepreneur who finds solution to solve that problem in an efficient way will lead to become an entrepreneurship. And an entrepreneur, many times, he takes risks beyond certain securities. He always goes an extra mile to achieve success and find the reward for that. Entrepreneurship has been there all the time. It's not a new terminology that we are talking about. It's there since ages. It's there at least for 100 to 200 years or 300 years, right? So entrepreneurship is there, but it is there in different shapes. It was there, it is there, and it is going to be there because this is something that actually ruled society for ages. Entrepreneurship is always there. Only the thing, the entrepreneurship that was there a generation ago and the entrepreneurship that we are talking about today has substantial changes. There are structural changes to the entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial models. So, what are those differences that we can see between traditional entrepreneurship and modern entrepreneurship? Orientation. So, the traditional entrepreneurship focusing excessively on product and stressed very less on the consumer. A research based product that was developed was pushed into the market based on there was a problem identified in the market and a product was pushed to solve that problem or to satisfy the consumers. Once the product is pushed into the market, it is just about the product, and this is a traditional mindset. A product is available in the market, consumers, whether they like it, whether they like only part of that product, whether they like a full product, whether they like only half of that product, but still they need to buy because there was no alternative or there was no much choice for the consumers. So it was a product dominated business. So that was a traditional entrepreneurship. That was a traditional entrepreneurial mindset. But things have changed. Now everything revolves around consumer. So what consumer wants is something that business need to offer. What consumer do not want, that needs to be discontinued in the market, or what the consumer do not want in the market may be altered or it may be modified or resized or redesigned to meet the changed requirement of consumers. So that's a modern entrepreneurial concept. What was the focus of entrepreneurship those days? It was solely on profit. So making profit, creating wealth was something that was most talked, most bothered element in the business. So profit making is an ultimate goal of the business. But things have changed. Now, it's not just about making profit, it is also about customer satisfaction. So customers need to be satisfied. So the profit is achieved through this route by satisfying consumers. If the consumers are satisfied, making profit is something that will be taken care by the system automatically, right? It will happen organically. And also, contribution to society was something missing in those days, but now it's a very important element of business. So contribution to society at large, for example, solving employment problem in the society is something is expected by a business, or doing a corporate social responsibility, CSR activity, right? So those are the things that are expected in modern entrepreneurship. Ownership and management. So those days, the entrepreneurship, the traditional entrepreneurial mindset was about a family run business. So a family has a business which is run for almost decades and centuries, and the same thing that was supposed to be continued for the next generation. But now the things have been changed. In the modern business world, the business, the management and the ownership of a business can be run by the team of professionals, or a professional who has ability to do that. So that's the modern mindset in business. Geographical reach, it was limited to certain regions or local region for those days. But now, due to the advantage of LPG system, the liberalization, globalization, and privatization, the business has gone beyond geographical or political boundaries. And now the business is able to run operations across various parts of the world. So that's a modern entrepreneurship situation. That's a modern entrepreneurial condition. Flexibility. The traditional entrepreneurship had a very rigid approach towards the business. For example, those days, the profit is something that was actually anticipated in a business. Let us say I am expecting 40% returns from the business. I am not going to compromise for anything less than that, less than 40%, because that is something that I decided to buy on in the business. If anything below that is something that give a signal of that I need to close the business. But now the mindset has changed. The entrepreneurs are willing to be flexible. They need to be flexible. They are willing to be flexible, and they are okay to squeeze their margins when there is a need. Not necessarily 40%. I'm willing to do these projects for 35% margin, or 30% margin, or even 20% margin at times. So that's a flexibility that can be seen in modern entrepreneurial ventures. The use of technology. So in traditional entrepreneurship, the use of technology was limited, or it was none, because of various reasons. For example, those are the days when there was no technology like internet or telecommunication systems that was facilitating communication activities. So now the things have been completely changed. So most of the business operations are run through digital technologies or modern communication technologies. So that's one of the important difference between the traditional entrepreneurship and modern entrepreneurship. Need for capital. In traditional business environment, the need for capital was extremely high. For example, those are the days. The moment we talk about entrepreneurship, it is about largely about producing a good and selling it in the market. So to do that, there is a need to buy raw material, there is a need to pay the labor, there is a need to pay the infrastructure, there is a need to pay many other expenses that comes in day-to-day operations of the business. But now the mindset of entrepreneurs have been changed. They've shifted their focus from product to service. When the focus is shifted to the services from the product, it is all about labor, it is less about capital. Many business ventures today are able to run without capital, with zero capital, or with very minimal capital. For example, take an example of Ola, Uber, right? So these are Ola, Uber, they're actually the service providers. They're not the people, they're not the companies who own the assets. They depend on the cars, the vehicles of private people, and they associate with them, and they'll provide that services to the clients. Not necessarily they own cars to give rental services. So what I'm trying to say is the requirement for capital is very less in this case. Market entry. Traditional entrepreneurs have faced extremely high level of problems in terms of entering a market, because entering a market was a serious problem for or in those days. But now, entering a market is not that complicated. It is easy to enter the market. If you have a very good, sustainable, scalable product, you can enter the market that you want. But only the thing that should be something that is expected in the market, that was a research based product. Distribution network and distribution systems. Those days, the distribution system was not as fast as we see today. It was slower, but now the distribution network is so strong, the supply chain network is so strong. Mode of communication, mostly face to face in traditional business environment, but now the digital technologies are ruling the communication system in the entrepreneurship. Organizational structure, it was hierarchical. Now it's flexible and matrix structure. So there is no a long chain of command in the entrepreneurial systems. Now the things are becoming very flexible and matrix, and sometimes the owner himself will be directing the activities to the employees all the time. Outsourcing. In traditional entrepreneurship, the outsourcing concept was less prevalent. There was no such outsourcing activity, but now it's more prevalent. For example, today's business need not go for having full-fledged teams to handle all the activities. For example, recruitment. Recruitment can be outsourced to the specialist agencies who can do this job for you at lower cost. Right? And also, when this recruitment activities are done from these consultants who actually has specialized knowledge, they'll replace your need for specialist resources in your own business. You need not maintain that costly resources to take care of this activity. And also, marketing activities. There are so many specialist marketing firms today, they can take care of the marketing activities for a business. And an entrepreneur need not own his full-fledged marketing team to take care of his marketing activities. So those are the days gone, and now the businesses are more interested towards outsourcing these critical activities to the third parties, where they are able to do it for the lesser cost and in more efficient ways. Infrastructure. In traditional business environment, the infrastructure was physical. We can witness the physical buildings, infrastructure, office, and everything, right? But today, the things have moved to online systems, where the virtual systems will take care of your infrastructure. You need not own any infrastructure. So that's the difference. That's the larger difference between traditional and modern entrepreneurship. Why entrepreneurship chosen? So what is the purpose behind choosing entrepreneurship against any other profession? So why people choose entrepreneurship against politics, or it may be a job, right? So what is the reason behind choosing entrepreneurship? So one of the major reasons why entrepreneurship was chosen is to change the world. The visionaries always embraced entrepreneurship to change the world. So how they planned, how they expected the world will change through this entrepreneurship. For example, introducing innovative product or service. So they have tried to transform, to change the world. For example, so Thomas Edison, who invented electric bulbs during 1880s, right? So remember, he had 1900 plus patents in his name, right? So he had so many ideas and he wanted to change the world by his innovative ideas. So he has given electric lights to the world. So that was the way entrepreneurs tried to change the world. Another example, Henry Ford, who actually introduced something called Fordism. So what is Fordism? So manufacturing automobiles at affordable cost, right? And paying higher wages to the laborers, right? And Henry Ford is the one who actually introduced 5 days working format in US, right? And it was during 1918. Another example, Martin Cooper, who actually was an employee of Motorola, was in a very good position in Motorola, and during 1973, he introduced a mobile phone. He has given a commercial mobile phone, right? So he introduced mobile phone, and that actually transformed the world. And also the Larry Page, who started Google. You know that Google is the leading search engine across the world. I think they have more than 90% of the market share in search engine market, right? And they've started Google in 1998. So these are the ideas, the innovative ideas and services, the products and services they've offered, and that's how they have changed the world. Continuing with that, there are many other reasons why individuals embrace entrepreneurship. Probably it is to sell ideas. It is not always easy to sell the ideas. I have 100 ideas. Not all the ideas will be sold in the market, right? So I may not be able to uh, convert it into reality. I may not be able to bring it to reality. So to sell ideas, entrepreneurship is a right choice. And also to maintain work life balance. For those who actually work for a job, they may not be able to find work life balance. So remember, there is a very thick line was existing between work and personal life, but now the line is becoming thinner and it is becoming disappearing between work and life. It is becoming everything is the same. So we work while we are in personal life, and when we are in personal life, we take things that are related to the job. So it is actually mixed up. So people who wants to separate the job from their personal life, and entrepreneurship is one of the best way to do that. By starting something on own, I can differentiate my work life and the professional life. Autonomy. When an autonomy is required, when I want to decide something on my own, I don't want to listen to the other person and don't want to follow that ideas. I have my own ideas and I want to pursue my ideas. So I need autonomy. And when I want autonomy, I can go for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship gives that platform to pursue your ideas and take decisions based on your ideas. For those who do not appreciate job environment, entrepreneurship is the best option, right? So job, an acronym for the job is just obey boss. So here in this context, the employees may not have rights, or they may not have power to take certain decisions. They may have to depend on their managers, on their bosses to take decisions. When the job is just obey boss, when individuals do not appreciate that environment, they go for something to start on their own. That's entrepreneurship. Flexible hours, the office shift hours, the fixed working hours. Those who do not appreciate working for a fixed certain number of hours for office every day, right? So they go for entrepreneurship because they want to have this flexi, they want to have this comfort for working based on their requirement. So that's one of the advantages of pursuing entrepreneurship. Working from anywhere is another reason why people prefer entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship today, in the changed business world, it gives flexibility to work from anywhere. In the digital world, you need not be present physically in the office to perform your duties. You can be anywhere and you can execute your duties, and you can ensure the business is operating smoothly. So that is possible in entrepreneurship, especially in the modern entrepreneurship. Work without fear and personal satisfaction. So entrepreneurship is something that gives you a personal satisfaction because you're doing something for yourself, and that gives you satisfaction because you are able to do what you actually wanted, wherein it is not possible in job, where you need to do certain things, the duties that are defined to you and that are given by your managers or your superiors, and you have to follow that. Even when you do not appreciate that, you may have to do that. But in entrepreneurship, you can do actually what you want and what you like and what you feel is going to work in the market, and that gives you a return. At the same time, there will be risk that is part of the whole game, and reward is something that you anticipate to take that particular risk. Opportunity to change the lives, that is something is possible in two important areas. One is in politics, where a folk, the person who actually enters politics can transform many lives because he can touch many lives through policies. Becoming a politician who actually has a power to make policies, they can touch the lives of many, and also they can ensure the numbers, millions of people who get jobs and social security. That is possible in politics. Same is possible in entrepreneurship. In entrepreneurship, an entrepreneur can give employment to many, and those many will have dependents and their families, and that way it transforms the world of individuals, right? So there is a possibility of ensuring the people have employment, and you're touching many lives across the world. And that is possible through entrepreneurship. And also you can improve the standard of living for the people who actually work for you. The fullest utilization of your skills and talent is something is possible in entrepreneurship. For example, when you become an entrepreneur, you will have flexibility to work on multiple departments, multiple activities, multiple tasks. For example, you will, as an entrepreneur, you will do finance activity, you take care of accounts, you take care of marketing, and you take care of promotion, you take care of distribution activities, and you take care of all other things that are related directly or indirectly to the business. Wherein in the job, it is not possible, because as an employee, you will be doing a portion of a job, and the other portion of the job will be done by someone else, and that you have no clue. As an entrepreneur, you will have a satellite view of what is actually happening in the organization, and you will perform each and every task at micro as well as macro levels. So that's an advantage of becoming entrepreneurship, and that's one of the important reasons why individuals choose entrepreneurship. Dignity and self-respect. Often there is a complaint that the jobs will not give you these two. And in the changed business world, when every business is working under tremendous pressure, tremendous competition, cost pressure, sales pressure, so in that situations, the business may not be able to ensure the dignity and self-respect for every individual who works for them. So in many cases, the managers who actually not take care of their employees, and that's when there will be a possibility that a person may, you know, go out of that organization and start something on their own, and that gives a dignity and self-respect, because he need not obey anyone else, and he is the boss and he is the owner of that particular business, and that gives him a personal satisfaction or self-respect and dignity. And that's also one of the important reasons why people shift from job to entrepreneurship. Not necessarily dignity and self-respect is assured in entrepreneurship, but at the same time, there is a maximum possibility that you will get dignity and self-respect in entrepreneurship, in your entrepreneurial journey. What are the characteristics of an entrepreneur? So who is an entrepreneur? What are the traits that you can identify in an entrepreneur, so that you can find there is an entrepreneurial trait in a person, right? A risk-taking mindset. Entrepreneur is a person who assumes a lot of risks in the business. So he is the person who actually always live with the risk. Every decision taken in a business involves one or other type of risks. And in fact, entrepreneur is the person who has a controlled aggression, will take a risk in the business. And also, entrepreneur is the person who actually have new perspectives towards the world. And what he's doing, he'll always look at the things in a new perspective, and that may bring a risk. Many times there will be risk that every entrepreneur go through and face it, and sometimes they mitigate it. Innovative mindset. Always entrepreneurs think from different perspective. They always think beyond the box. They think about new ideas, new ways of doing things, new processes, and also new products and services. So this gives them an edge against others. Since they're able to think about new ideas, new processes, and new products and services, which is not there in the market, that gives them an edge in terms of market share and the revenue in the market. Vision and leadership. Entrepreneurs always exhibit vision. They'll have vision. They're able to see something beyond what others are able to see. They'll focus on what actually matters most to the business. For example, they're able to see from the next 5 years where the business should be and what the business should be. What would be the situation after 5 years in this particular industry, and what all problems, what all challenges I'm supposed to face after 5 years. What all the transition has to happen in the business. What all changes has to happen. What is the things that need to be redesigned in a product? What are the features that need to be altered in the product over a period of time? And what is going to be a biggest threat in the next 1 year, 2 years? And who are the competitors who are actually expected to compete with us, and how to deal with them, and how to capture market share even when there is a competition? So that vision and leadership will be there in an entrepreneur. Open-minded thinking. She or he always thinks about new ideas, suggestions, and opinions, and thinks about what is going to come in the near future, right? They'll be open for new ideas. They're not the people who actually think about an idea, continue to work on that for throughout their life. They keep changing, they keep learning, they keep understanding the trends in the market. Flexibility is another characteristic of entrepreneur. So they'll have adaptability in the business. They'll expect the revenues and profits. For example, those are the days when the margins were fixed and the margins were expected, let's say 40-50% margins in every project that I'm going to undertake. But now the things have changed. The competition has been very tough and the market has been very drained. Now even the companies that are going to give you a project, or the companies that are going to outsource certain projects to you, they want to squeeze the margins. Instead of 30 or 40%, they want to give you 25% margins on the project. In the changed business world, the entrepreneurs are willing to take that squeezed margins. They're willing to accept projects even when the margins are squeezed. They're called the change agent. The entrepreneurs are called change agents because they bring in new product and service to the market, and they transform the way the individuals, the society think about a particular product. There are various instances where you can see this. The change agents, the entrepreneurs will bring innovation, the new products and services, new designs to the market, and those new designs and things are appreciated in the market. Problem solving is another characteristic of entrepreneur. Entrepreneur always, the main job of an entrepreneur, according to me, is solving problems, business problems. There are n number of problems that he or she will face in the entrepreneurial journey, and that is to be solved and that needs to be troubleshooted. Else, the business may not go forward. And solving this problem is an opportunity. Solving this problem is a business for an entrepreneur. And those problems are the problems or the confusions or the chaos for the common man. And the entrepreneur is able to solve those problems, and that's why he can expect a reward in the business. Willingness to learn. Always entrepreneurs show willingness to learn because the markets are not rigid, they're fluid. Always the markets will change, the design expectations will change, the tastes and preferences of consumers will keep changing. And the entrepreneur is able to survive in the market only when the design, the product specifications, that the other specifications of the product are maintained or they are altered according to the requirement of the changed requirements in the market. And that is something that entrepreneur should do, and they are doing it. Self-motivation is another characteristic of an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs are not the people who actually motivated by others. They'll have inner drive to achieve, to produce, develop, and keep moving. So they'll have self-motivation. They know what they're supposed to do and they work towards it persistently to achieve, to reach that particular target. Passion, so desire to achieve something. That's why they're becoming entrepreneurs. When they have desire and they have willingness, right? They have willingness to achieve something and they have capability to do something, and that's why they're actually entrepreneurs. So that is another characteristic of an entrepreneur. So passion. So these are the typical characteristics of an entrepreneur. So if these characteristics are found in a person, you can confidently say he's an entrepreneur. Let's have a look at some of the examples for successful entrepreneurs. So overall, successful entrepreneurs in the history. So Steve Jobs. We all know Steve Jobs, founder of the Apple Incorporation, and Apple is known for its electronic devices, personal laptops, and iPhone. And this is into telecommunication. That is something. Through this innovative business idea, he has transformed the world by introducing Apple iPhone or Apple personal MacBook. So that is appreciated across the world, and that's why we call Steve Jobs is a successful entrepreneur. Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is the person who actually is the SpaceX, right? So SpaceX is the only private, the rocket launching, station into the orbit, right? So they have started SpaceX, and that's known across the world, and we call Elon Musk is a successful entrepreneur. Bill Gates into Microsoft technology, right? So they've given software solutions to the world, and Microsoft is a very familiar name across the world, and it was able to touch every corner of the world, and impact the millions of lives across the world. Jeff Bezos was given Amazon, and Amazon is a online retail business which actually we use every day for various shopping activities, right? So here Amazon is a very good platform that has a major share in online retail business. Mark Zuckerberg, who started Facebook into social media, and that is now known to everyone mostly, right? And Ratan Tata was, the founder member of Tata Groups, right? So Tata Group Automobiles, so he's known personality. And Mukesh Ambani, Reliance Industries, we all know Jio, how Jio transformed the communication world, especially in India, right? So Adani Group, the port, Byju's, right? So Byju's, the Ravindra Byju's, who actually set up a tuition center, which is now grown to such a large extent that it is one of the largest tech in the world. So they're all called successful entrepreneurs. You see, majority of these successful entrepreneurs, for example, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg, they're all from US. So they have base in US. And if you look at Ratan Tata, Mukesh Ambani, Adani, and Byju's, they have base in India. But still, no matter where they belong to, they've been doing fantastic job in terms of transforming lives across the world. Entrepreneurial process. So what is the process in setting up a business? So how business will start? How an entrepreneur set up a business and make it successful? The journey in entrepreneurship begins with identifying opportunity. So identifying opportunity is nothing but identifying the problem in the society. So not always these problems are great, serious problems. It may be a simple problem that requires a simple solution, right? And that becomes a business idea. That's the source of business idea. For example, in a changed business world and in the changed modern lifestyle, so we do not have much time to go and buy groceries from the store, and we do not have time. And second thing, many times we pay higher prices for the groceries or the vegetables that we buy from the retail stores, and that was one of the problem. That was a problem statement. There are a very good business setups in the market. For example, FTH, right? Big Basket, Super Daily. What actually they're doing, they have an app where customer can place an order for groceries, vegetables, or the daily needs, and those things will be delivered at the doorstep of a person within few minutes or few hours or within a day. So what they're trying to do, this is a simple problem, but the way they're solving this problem is mind boggling, right? So the simple problem has been solved efficiently because we don't have time and we are paying higher prices to what we are actually buying from the retail stores. Simple. These products and items are delivered at the doorstep for the lower prices and within time, and we don't have to spend time to go and buy these groceries or vegetables from the retail shop, and that is time is saved and also the money is saved that we have paid extra to the retail stores. So that's how the problems are identified by the entrepreneurs, and those problems are the opportunities. The problems for consumers are the opportunities for an entrepreneur. So once the problem is identified and the opportunity is identified, the next step is to establish the vision. So what is to be done, how far this business can be scaled, so what all things to be done, and how this business can be made successful, and what are the challenges that I'm supposed to face and encounter in my entrepreneurial journey. So they will establish the vision. Determining the resources, what are the resources that are required. So the entrepreneurs will identify the resources required to pursue this entrepreneurial journey. So once the resource requirement is mapped, and it is the next step is to develop the business plan. So the business plan is nothing but the complete project plan of the business. So once the project plan is prepared, basically this project plan will have what is the product to be sold, what is the problem in the first thing, what is the problem in the market, and how the proposed product or service is going to solve that particular problem, and what is the investment required, what is the resource requirement, and when the business is going to achieve break even point, and when I'm going to recover all my costs. That's nothing but it's a break even point. And once that is done, when I'm going to earn profit and when I'm able to achieve the maximum share. So that the entire business plan will be prepared. And once the business plan is ready, and the next step is to persuade, to convince the stakeholders. Remember, there will be two categories of resources in the business: internal and external. So internal stakeholders are those who actually related to the business, and external stakeholders are those who are actually outside the business. For example, the external stakeholders may be the government, the tax authorities, right? And also the investors, the creditors who actually give you the financial support to the business. So once this business plan is ready, once the stakeholders are convinced, the next step is to gather the resources. So the resources need to be gathered, whatever the resources required. It may be the factors of production, right? The land, labor, resources, and the skills required. So once it is done, the business will be launched and the business will be executed successfully. So that's a very brief process of entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurial journey. Now let's understand what are the classifications of entrepreneurship. What are the types of entrepreneurship that we can see in the real world? Entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is nothing but when an employee working in an organization will give him an opportunity to be an entrepreneur within the organization itself. That means an employee is given an authority to drive a product or services completely end to end and ensure the product or service is successful. So to do that, organization will give a full support in terms of financial support, marketing support, and any other resource support that is required to make that product successful. So in entrepreneurship, an individual will have an opportunity to prove his credibility, to prove that he has ability to become an entrepreneur, independent entrepreneur later. This is one of the advantage for an individual to explore his entrepreneurial characteristics and show that he has ability to become an entrepreneur. When an individual is given an opportunity to run a product, to handle a product and make it profitable for the organization, the advantages will be many. For example, an individual has an opportunity to pursue his entrepreneurial journey without having his own investments, because the organization is giving that opportunity for individual to pursue his entrepreneurial journey. Second thing, he need not go and set up a full-fledged business to pursue his entrepreneurial journey, because the infrastructure is ready, the support is given by the company. He just need to prove his skills and abilities to make the product or service successful. So that's entrepreneurship. So being an entrepreneur within the organization is entrepreneurship. Small business and entrepreneurship. So what is small business entrepreneurship? Setting up a small business without having dependency on others. For example, it may be any small shop. For example, it may be a grocery shop, or it may be a fancy store or a medical store, or it may be opening a small hospital or a clinic. Let us say he's a doctor, is a doctor, and he do not want to work for an organization. Instead of that, he can go ahead and start his own clinic, and he is an entrepreneur and is employing himself in this in this entire business, and is starting his business. And also it may be opening any small mobile shop or service center, right? Or it may be any other shop that is easily possible to start, right? It may be opening a petrol pump, right? So these are the kind of small business entrepreneurship. Imitative entrepreneurship. What is imitative entrepreneurship? Imitation is nothing but it is just I'm copying. I don't want to think of my own idea. I'm just copying the idea that is already there in the market. So for example, you can think of a franchisee business. So here in franchisee, for example, take an example of MedPlus. I don't want to invent anything. The business idea is already there. The network is already there. The pharma background is already there. So what I need to do, I need to take the franchisee, right? Franchisee from MedPlus, and I want to run that franchisee store. And for that, I need to pay the fees to the franchise owner. So that is imitative entrepreneurship. I'm just imitating what is already there. I'm not starting anything on my own. Social entrepreneurship is nothing but starting an organization or a venture to take care of social causes like environmental pollution, right? It may be to solve poverty or to solve hunger problem, and also to start blood banks, right? So it may be anything of such sort, or maybe starting orphanage house. So that is called social entrepreneurship. So to take an example of social entrepreneurship, you can take Mother Teresa, who actually had a charitable institution to take care of poor people who were actually struggling with hunger. So that was one of the examples. And also we can take another example of Infosys Foundation NGO, wife of Narayan Murthy, right? So Sudha Murthy, who has taken social entrepreneurship, and she's running the trust, the foundation for social cause. Hustler entrepreneurship. So what is hustler entrepreneurship? In hustler entrepreneurship, an individual who has entrepreneurial traits, who has skill in a particular area, he wants to leverage that, and he wants to add additional services into that, and he wants to grow that with his hard work and perseverance. For example, an individual who has a saloon, right? He's just taking care of saloon, and there are a couple of services in the saloon. At the same time, he wants to grow that business. So he wants to expand that business, the saloon business. He wants to add more services into that. He wants to earn more customers. So what he will do, he will start additional services, like in terms of adding more services in terms of face cleaning, or it may be adding hairstyling or any other services. By doing that, what he's trying to do is actually trying to leverage the existing business that is already running, but adding more services to attract more consumers and to grow that business. So that's called hustler entrepreneurship. Environmental entrepreneurship. So what is environmental entrepreneurship? It is all about starting a venture that will solve the environmental problems. For example, uh, setting up distilleries or recycling plastic bottles. So these are all will solve the plastic problems at large. So that's called environmental entrepreneurship. Fabian entrepreneurship. So what is Fabian entrepreneurship? Fabian entrepreneurship is nothing but an individual who has the business, a family business. They want to continue without altering the original intent of that business. For example, an individual who has been part of a jewelry business since 100 years from their parents, that is something that has come from their parents. He wants to continue without changing anything in that business. He do not want to take risk. He do not want to alter that business. He just want to continue what has been done for almost 100 years from his grandparents. You want to continue that. That's called Fabian entrepreneurship. International entrepreneurs or international entrepreneurship. So here, an individual who set up a business exclusive to export product or services. It is not for domestic consumption, it is to export services or the products. For example, exporting garment products or chemicals or handicrafts or any items that are required in the international market. So the business is set up exclusively to export business. That's called international entrepreneurship. And these entrepreneurs will not focus on domestic market, because the very purpose of this business model is to export the goods and services, especially to the other countries. So these are the categories of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurial considerations. It's very important for an entrepreneur to understand few things before setting up the business. Demand and supply. So always the markets have these two things: demand for product or service, and supply of the products and services. So when the demand and the supply is equal, let us say there is a requirement for 100 units of a product, and there is a supply of 100 units of that particular product, then the price will be constant. Okay, the price will be constant. When the demand for a product is more, the supply is less. What happens? The price will go up. And vice versa, when the supply is more, the demand is less, the price will come down. When the entrepreneur is able to understand what is the level of demand for a particular product, and he'll be able to see what is the supply required and how much he need to supply and what would be the price he can expect in the market. And an entrepreneur should know what is the level of demand and supply in the market. Those entrepreneurs who are able to understand the demand and supply conditions in the market will be successful, because they know what is the demand and what is the price to be fixed, and what is the price at which the business will break even, and what is the price at which the business will start generating the profits, the net profits for the business. Let's talk about the challenges in entrepreneurship. So what are the challenges that an entrepreneur will face during his entrepreneurial journey? One of the most important challenges in entrepreneurship is the variable rate of return. This is one of the problem that has been witnessed in the recent times, and this was not a problem earlier, but now it is a more serious problem. So variable rate of returns. So those are the days when a business need to start, when a business need to be started, then there was a clear expectations in terms of rate of return. I'm expecting 40 to 50% of the return from this project, else I'm going to drop this. And since the 40 to 50% of that returns are assured, I started the business. But now, what is happening here? Due to the extreme level of competition, and there are a lot of alternatives available for every product and services, there is a price, there is a profit, and there is a margin problems. So these three things are suffered. For example, not everyone will get 50% returns. Not everyone will get projects with 50% margin. It is not possible. Knowing the fact that there are more number of sellers in the market, the clients will try to squeeze these margins, and they'll try to bargain for the lesser margins. For example, they would willing to give 20% margin on this particular project. So this is one of the serious problem in these days. Of course, being relevant in the business is more important than thinking about the margins that the project is going to give. For example, some projects may give 50% returns, and some projects may give 40% return, and some will give 30 or 20% return. But the problem is not that. The business need to keep moving. That cycle need to keep circulating, right? So the business need to be ready, whether it is 20%, 30%, or 40%, because the business need to be relevant by adding some margin to it. And while one project is not giving the margin, the other project will give. So though it is a challenge, the entrepreneurs need to take it as a challenge, and they need to be with business even when the margins are squeezed, because the modern business has a lot of competition. They're experiencing a lot of competition, and also there is a cost pressure. Language barriers. This is another problem, since in the global business world, the clients need not necessarily from the same country. The clients may be from the different country. For example, the client may be from the Brazil, and the company is in India, and the person who is in Brazil, who wants to speak only the language that is spoken in Brazil, not the language that is spoken in India. So though there is a business opportunity, the entrepreneur may not be able to pursue that because there is a language barrier. Difference in accounting systems in several countries, because every country has their own accounting system. For example, in India we have Indian GAAP, US has US GAAP, right? So though the countries are trying to converge from their own accounting systems to IFRS. So what is IFRS? International Financial Reporting Standards. So though they're trying to converge into one common language of accounting, but still the accounting systems that are followed are different. So when there are different accounting systems, the entrepreneur may not be able to understand the advantages and limitations of working with that particular client in that particular country. Political unrest and legal concerns. So in some countries, the political stability may be a concern. So in that cases, it is very difficult to run the business. For example, running a business in Sri Lanka or in Pakistan may be a tougher because the political unrest, the political inconsistency will bother the business, because each political party who run the government, right, they may have their own mindset about a particular industry or a particular business. So that may bring a trouble to a business. Cultural differences. So each country has a different culture, right? So an entrepreneur, while dealing with the other country, he may face the cultural differences and he may have to experience those changes. Competition is another problem, another challenge. So the competition is very fierce. So an entrepreneur need to stick to that, and you need to make business based on the competition. So what is already there in the market, and what is the price they are offering, what is the design, what is the specification, what is the quality, what is the quantity, right? So based on that, the business need to be run. And when they are dealing with competitors, there will be least possibility, there will be a least scope for entrepreneur to decide what price to be kept. And the price, most of the time in the competitive business environment, is set by the competition, not by the entrepreneur. So entrepreneur will have little to talk about what price to be quoted, and it is largely about the competition that will decide what is the price to be quoted based on the market conditions. Supply chain concerns. So this is another problem, and supply chain need to be robust, and it should be strong enough to distribute the products across various locations. And supply chain concerns, when the supply chain is not efficient, it is very difficult to reach the consumer across all the locations in the country or outside the country. Sources of business ideas. So where these ideas come from for an entrepreneur? So is it coming from the unknown sources? No. So basically, the business ideas are all over. It's only about those who identify those opportunities and those who identify those problems and try to pursue their entrepreneurial journey. Generally, entrepreneurial ideas comes from the trends, the changing trends, and the common problems that are prevalent in the society. So when the society has certain problems, and entrepreneur look at it from a business point of view, and that's how the business actually starts. There is a problem, and I'm trying to solve that problem, and I watch for the problem, and I understand what is the solution for that. An entrepreneur is a person who actually is able to identify solution that is practically applicable to that particular problem. So when they are able to identify the problem and they're able to suggest the solution, they can start their entrepreneurial journey. It is about looking at daily life and identifying what is the problem that is prevalent in day-to-day life, and that problem requires simple execution, simple solution. So not all the time the problems are complex. It is a simple problem, and efficient execution of ideas is something that requires for an entrepreneurship. So what are the innovative business ideas? If you look at the recent days, there are food delivery apps like Zomato, Uber Eats, Dunzo, Foodpanda, right? So what actually they're doing, they have an app and they connect with the consumers, the customers across various locations, and they're connected to the hotels and restaurants. When a customer orders food, when the customer wants to buy certain food, and they place an order on app, any of these apps, and these apps will locate that restaurant or hotels, and they pack it from the hotels and they'll ship it to the customers. And they work like an intermediary between the consumers and the customers and the hotels and restaurants. Though it is a simple problem that they are identifying to solve, it's a brilliant execution of the idea, and the customer is able to get the food at the doorstep even when the restaurant is little far or it's far from his house. So that's a innovative business idea. You look at it, it's a very simple problem, and the solution for this problem was also simple, but the execution is really excellent. Transport. In transport segment, you can see Ola, Uber, right? Bees, Quick Ride, Julu bikes, and Pogo bikes. If I need to use my own transport, I face a lot of problems. For example, if I need to go to airport, so what I need to take public transport, which takes a lot of my time. I don't have that much of time. I cannot depend on public transport in many cases. So what other option I have? I can use my own transport. I can use my own car. So when I use my own car, I have to take my car and I have to spend a lot of money to fill petrol and to take care of expenses, and which will be bigger than the public transport. And also I may have to park my car in airport and I have to leave. And consider I am going for a trip, business trip, which requires me to be there for another 20 days. So I have to park my car just there in the airport and I have to pay the parking charges. Now, I don't want to have this problem. I don't want to drive. I don't want to take the risk of driving to airport. I don't want to use public transport because it takes a lot of time. Here the problem is the time and money. Here Ola, Uber Eats, Quick Ride, right, Ogo Bikes, and these are all public transport companies. What they're trying to do, they're trying to solve these simple problems. So they're charging very less fare to give these services, and also they're dependable. So simple problem, very efficient execution of this solution. What is the solution? Giving them a ride or a rent of a car for lower prices. At the same time, as a passenger, I need not bother about my parking. I need not think about the price I'm supposed to pay for parking and driving in the traffic, heavy traffic, and I don't have to worry about, you know, thinking about, you know, the cost that is going to be there for me to reach the airport. I'm just paying some money, I'm there. I need not bother about anything else. So that's a simple problem, but efficient solution to that particular problem. Online shopping. It may be Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Snapdeal, right? Or it may be GeoMart. I need not go to a shop to buy a particular commodity or a shopping item. There are many problems. I may have to pay higher prices. I may buy product with lower quality and it may not be dependable. But Amazon, Flipkart, and these kind of online retail stores will solve those most of those problems. So they ensure the product that is sold is of quality, the price that is given of is a reasonable price, and the products are delivered at doorstep well on time. And that is something that I wanted. And that's all. The problems are sorted, and I'll go for Amazon. I'll not go to a shop where I may have to face all these problems. So, what you need to understand here, a simple problem, efficient execution of ideas to solve these problems. Big Basket, Super Daily, Dunzo, or Blinkit. So, what they do, they actually take your order and they map those orders from their network stores and they bring that item and they deliver it at your doorstep, and they ensure the quality and the prices are reasonable. You need not go to a shop personally, spend your time, pay higher prices, or buy cheap products. So they'll ensure the quality products are delivered to you at a right price, reasonable price. Social medias like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So they connect you to your friends, relatives, neighbors, and your business partners, your people across the world. So they ensure people are connected on a common platform without even visiting them personally. What are the new trends in entrepreneurship? So how the face of entrepreneurship has been changed in the recent times. Shift from product to service. So there is a shift from product to service. So those are the days when entrepreneurship was largely about the product. So manufacturing a product and selling it in the market and make profit. And that's how the business was run. So these are the days now. The product, the concept of product is shading, and it's not just about the product, it is also largely about the service. So what is the service to be offered at what price? So the shift is from product to service, and the service based economies are growing faster than the product based economies. Disappearing physical infrastructure. To start a business today, you need not have a physical infrastructure, you need not have a company, a manufacturing setup, or an office to be there personally, be present there to ensure that it's a business. It is all required, but not fully, right? So today entrepreneurship is possible without even having a physical office, without even having a physical manufacturing plant. So that is a new trend in entrepreneurship. You need not spend, you need not invest in physical infrastructure to start any business. It's not necessarily true. You can run your business without even having physical infrastructure. Increased diversity in workforce. Because there is no physical infrastructure or there is a less requirement for physical infrastructure, you can hire your resources from anywhere across the country or from other countries as well. So there will be a diversity in your workplace, diversity in your workforce. People from various cultural backgrounds come together and they work for your organization. So that's an advantage in virtual business environment. A trend towards gig economy. So, what is gig economy? Gig economy is nothing but due to the complexity of business models today, the requirements, the projects come to a company on random basis. Suddenly, there will be a huge project that comes in, and there will be no resources to take care of that project. So, the trend is shifting towards contract based jobs or freelance jobs, where whenever there is a volume of work, you can just outsource it, get it done, and you need not maintain those resources in the company and pay social security schemes and spend on that. You just need to outsource these projects to the freelancers and contract employees who will take care of it and they'll complete it. So there is no need to spend your money on unnecessarily maintaining the resources in the system. Influencers. Today, entrepreneurs need not bother too much about marketing, or they need not bother too much about taking care of business operations. There are a lot of influencers who actually do this job for you. For example, marketing and sales. There are a lot of influencers in the market who actually takes these kind of projects and they'll do it for you. They influence consumers and customers about your product and services. They make those people visit your website and they buy your products in online environment. So that's called influence marketing. Outsourcing. This was not very familiar in those days, but now outsourcing is a very popular thing, very popular, model where you need not invest so much of your money, time, efforts in setting up divisions like recruitment divisions, finance division, marketing divisions, and most of these activities can be outsourced except your key skill, core skill. For example, accounting activities can be outsourced to an auditing firm. Marketing activities can be outsourced to a marketing firm, and recruitment activities, HR activities can be outsourced to a particular firm which is good in outsource recruiting resources. So largely you can save on in terms of time, resources, and effort of doing all these things in house. So that's outsourcing. So outsourcing is now the talk of the town. So people are talking about outsourcing and it is very common and very popular in these days. Industry life cycle. So what is industry life cycle? So every product or every industry will have its own life cycle. That means it is similar to a human being. A person who born will die on a day once it is the cycle is complete. The same holds true with a business. A business that is born today will grow over a period of time, and after certain stages, it will end its journey in the business world. So, if it is a product will have its own life cycle, and if it is an industry will have its own life cycle. So, product is just one part of the industry, and industry is at a larger scale will have certain lifestyle, and after that, the industry will come down and the entrepreneur need to be very careful about when the industry is going to decline and when the industry is actually growing, when the industry is in introduction stage. That we need to understand, and entrepreneur need to be very careful about what is the exact situation of the industry in the life cycle. The first stage of the life cycle for an industry is startup. So this is the stage the product in the industry is introduced, and an entrepreneur have to spend a lot of money in setting up the process, setting up infrastructure, building the distribution network, connecting with the customers, and growing the business. And this is the stage when the business will not make profit. It is about earning revenue, but still the revenue is lesser than the cost. So the business is still struggling to reach the break even point. So what is the break even point? It is a point at which the revenues are equal to the cost. So the startup stage in which the business will struggle, because this is the stage the business is trying to prove its credentials in the market. So once this stage is completed, the next stage is the growth stage. In the growth stage, the business will continue to add customers, they'll build on their sales. The cost pressure will come down because they're actually adding more revenue. And in growth stage, the business can achieve the break-even point. What is break-even point? The no profit, no loss point. And beyond this point, the business is able to generate profits. In growth stage, the business is doing a lot of promotions, and because of the promotion, the business will grow, the sales will grow, the revenue will grow, and since the revenue is growing, the cost pressure will come down, and since the cost pressure is come down, the business is able to give the product at lower prices. When the product is given at lower prices, it will further improve the sales, and it will bring further revenue to the business. And at this point in time, the business will start growing the competitors, because the industry is actually growing. The competitors will enter the market with subsidiary products or ancillary products, and the competition will start building that will bring pressure on the industry and also on the product. Once the growth stage is over, and this is the stage where it is called shakeout. What is shakeout? Here, literally, the sales revenues will be shaken. The presence of the product will be shaken, because there's a lot of the fierce competition in the market. There are a lot of alternatives in the market, and all these alternatives are either good or they're superior than the product that is already there in the market, because they've watched your product in the market for some time and they have come up with a better product than yours, and they're offering more benefits than what you are actually offering, and also they're willing to sell this product for the price that is lesser than your price. So that is called shakeout, and this is the time when the businesses will have a lot of mergers, acquisitions, and also some businesses will close at this point, because they're not able to pursue their entrepreneurial journey beyond this point, because the competition is very tough. They need to survive this competition, and not every business will survive this competition. Remember, out of 100 entrepreneurs, majority of them will fail. 90% of the entrepreneurs will fail, and only 10% of the people who will be able to succeed. And those are the people who actually cross this journey through this shakeout period. And this is very important stage, because competition will drain the margins, they'll drain your profits. Despite that, if the business is able to continue, and then they'll get into the next level, that's called maturity. So this is the stage in which the industry is matured, the product is matured, and now the business has a market share, and the market share is threatened by extreme level of competition, and also the trends are changing, the preferences are changing in the market. When the industry is not able to change according to the changed needs of the market, the changed taste preferences of the consumers, then the next stage is going to be the decline stage. And this is the stage when many of the businesses are like mergers will happen, acquisitions will happen, and some businesses will be liquidated because they're not able to run their shows, because they're not able to cope up with the changed business environment. The best example is Xerox. So Xerox was one of the most popular company in filmography, right? So the company has lost its stake, and they've lost their business, and they've lost their market share because they were not able to change their business models according to the changed needs in the market. Another example is Nokia. Nokia was one of the most popular mobile brands in the world, and that was not carried for a long time, and they've lost market share for Samsung and many other mobile manufacturing companies, because they were not able to restructure their business models, they were not able to redesign their products according to the changed needs of the consumers in the market, and that's why they have declined, and they have been declining. So these are the 5 important stages in industry life cycle. So startup, growth, shakeout, maturity, and decline. Let's now discuss the last section of the entire series of videos, why entrepreneurs fail. 90% of the entrepreneurs fail. According to the survey conducted by Forbes, more than 95% of the people fail in entrepreneurship. And also there is another survey from Harvard that majority of the entrepreneurs who actually start their entrepreneurial journey will fail. That is, more than 95% of the entrepreneurs will fail. Why they fail? There are n number of reasons why entrepreneurs fail in their entrepreneurial journey. Some of the reasons I've listed here, and some of the reasons are very obvious, and some reasons are very, obvious in the market, in the changed business world. Poor product offering. This is one of the most common reasons why entrepreneurs vanish from the market. When the entrepreneur is not able to visualize the product that is required in the market, when the entrepreneur is not able to identify the problem properly, when the problem is not identified properly, the offering will be poor because the problem statement is not clearly defined, the opportunity is not identified properly. So obviously the product, the output is going to be a poor output, right? So the poor product will come out based on the poor planning and the poor visualization of the requirement in the market, poor identification of the problem in the market. Lack of funding. Many times businesses will start with basic capital and they're not able to sustain with that capital. When there is a need for the capital is not available in the market because capital is a precious resource and that is not available in ample, right? So lack of funding is another reason why entrepreneurs fail. Some entrepreneurs may not be able to continue their entrepreneurial journey because the funding is not done properly. Underestimating competition. So many times entrepreneurs may not be able to understand the intensity of competition in the market. They think there are only 2 competitors in the market, but unfortunately there are 10 competitors in the market. So in that cases, the competitors may be able to do better than you, and that's when you lose market opportunities, and that's when you lose the stake in the business. Poor vision. When an entrepreneur is not able to visualize the business, when they're not able to visualize what need to be offered and how long this product will be relevant to the world and relevant to the consumers, and when there is a poor vision about that, definitely the entrepreneurs are expected to fail. Poor planning. When the planning is very poor, again it leads to the failure of a business. And poor understanding of the industry, it's very important. An entrepreneur need to understand the industry trends. What is the trend, the current trend in the market, and how long this trend would expect it to be completed, when the industry is going to be matured, and when the trend is going to be changed. An entrepreneur should have idea about this, and that the absence of that understanding would lead to the failure of entrepreneurs. Wrong priorities. Many times entrepreneurs pursue multiple interests in the same business. When the most potential project is ignored and most small projects are considered, and that's a wrong prioritization that may cost entrepreneurs dearly later. Poor timing and poor execution, poor market research are also the reasons why entrepreneurs many times they fail, right? So market research is very important because through market research an entrepreneur is able to understand what is actually required in the market, and execution is equally important. Though there is an excellent business idea, when the execution is very poor, and it is expected to be a failure journey for an entrepreneur. And also the timing is very important. When an entrepreneur need to enter the market is something that's very important, because when they enter the market should respond to the business. So when the timing is not good, it will be a difficult journey for an entrepreneur. And also the teams who are actually working on products and services should be competent enough, otherwise it would lead to the failure. That brings us to the end of this entire discussion on entrepreneurship. Here is a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. Entrepreneurship is a process of setting up a business, taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. So the risk is anticipated, The risk is expected in the business because it's obvious. At the same time, an entrepreneur is taking that risk because there is a profit. Two things are important in entrepreneurship, that is ability and willingness. The person who has ability to do something in business and also they have willingness to do will succeed in the business and he'll become an entrepreneur. Traditional entrepreneurship and modern entrepreneurship has significant changes. There is a shift, drastic shift in the mindset of modern entrepreneurs and the traditional entrepreneurs. We have also seen the characteristics of entrepreneurs. What are the traits of an entrepreneur? And we have seen the classification of entrepreneurs. And also we have seen the entrepreneurial journey, how an entrepreneurial journey will start and ends. And we have seen the challenges in entrepreneurship. What are the challenges that an entrepreneur would face in the entrepreneurial journey? And we have understood why entrepreneurs fail, right? And we have also discussed about the industry life cycle. It is a startup, growth, shakeout, maturity, and decline. So these are the stages in an industry life cycle. So that brings us to the end of this discussion on entrepreneurship. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Thanks for watching.
If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new update or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video for any query or suggestions and I will respond to your comments.